Hi, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my art room. Today I'm going to start doing the Just Because quilt that Corinne from To Be Loved Treasures by Corinne and also Rachel from Roxy Creations are both doing Canther style quilts, all done by hand. Both of those ladies are using fabrics that Rachel's designed. And while I absolutely love them to death, and I have a few pieces, I just had a bit of a think about what I've already got in my craft room and decided that I had far too many Christmas fabrics and wanted to use them because I like quilts on the beds at Christmas time. I decorate the house. I'm a bit of a Christmas nut and thought having another quilt would be the thing to do for me. So a little disclaimer, I started this yesterday and I wasn't happy with what I did, but that's all right, I'll go into that. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about was where my inspiration has come from, apart from Corinne and Rachel, who are beautiful inspirers, and they've certainly got me going. Some time ago in 2022, Rachel and Sarah did a Christmas stitchery journal, and this was a wrap that I made that I really liked the idea of putting together. The Christmas bits had a couple of little embellishments, certainly things that fit within the ideas that Corinne have given us. And so this is where I've come from. One of the other things before I get on to this one was a piece that I did. My Christmas journal, I've kept all the pages separate because I hang it at Christmas as bunting, but still in that same idea of patching pieces together and then embellishing over the top. This is has got some embroidery on it. I did it separately and then backed each piece. That was just the way that I did it. One of the other pieces that I quite liked was quite plain backgrounds, and then with needle turn applique did the little houses on here. So all of which I think is going to fit with what Corinne's basic plan is, and I'd like to follow along with that because she certainly inspires me with lots of her ideas. So yeah, so that's sort of where I'm going with this. Each piece I did pretty much in exactly the same way with those patched together pieces, raw edge applique, Canther style stitching to keep all of the pieces in place. I'm not sure, might have to stand up sometimes, but you can see these running stitches. This is done in just a normal sewing thread, but then I've used the pearl cotton along here to give each of the squares some embellishment. So yeah, this is where I'm headed with my Christmas quilt that I plan to do. This was another quilt that I did from Elisa Matic from Forage. This is her Woodlands quilt. It comes with the pack of fabrics. It comes with some basic instructions on how to construct it, but still it's the same idea. This part of the quilt of the block was the basic size. It's going to be harder to manage on the screen, but I took it off the edge here. But again, that same idea of patching together different squares to create a background and then embellishing on the top. So yeah, I just wanted to share some of those ideas. This one's got a bit more embellishment on it. This was the bluebells one. These little flowers were all added on after the quilt was put together. How much of that sort of embellishment I'll do, I'm not completely sure. So my first bit of planning was around what size quilt I actually wanted to do. and I've decided to do this for a cover for a king single size bed. So I worked out that if I did my squares approximately, let me just go back and have a remeasure just to be very sure, 12-inch squares, I'm going to do 3 across and 4 down. And so what I decided to do also was not to put wadding in there. I had done, I'd redone a quilt here, an old quilt that I've shown once before, that's just only got cotton sheeting inside and not batting or wadding or whatever, and decided still that Canther style stitching going through it. And I love the feel of this. It is old fabric, and so it's going to feel slightly nicer than new Christmas fabrics. So what I've done is I had some sheeting that was quite thin. I had some bulk of another piece of fabric, decided to put 2 layers together in there. So the 12 inches is my square size, and I didn't want that, what I'm filling it with, what I'm calling my internal fabrics, I didn't want it to go beyond because it will bulk up at the joins, and I don't want to have that. But then I found some other fabric that's a cotton and linen blend, and it's got a bit of a self print on it that you can see there. So that's my backing piece. And then I just got out some Christmas fabrics. Now, these are cut because, like I said, I already had a go at this and hated it, thought about it all night and decided this morning that I was going to pull it all out and have another go at it. Luckily, I hadn't done very much. So, yeah, I have a selection of Christmas fabrics that I thought would look good. I've got a bit of doily here as well. I've got one that's got, a picture on it. And each quilt piece will probably be different depending on what fabric I've got. So that's where I'm up to. I've made the backing piece bigger because I want it to overlap with each other as I join each square together, so that is protected. Whether or not it needs to get trimmed down prior to actually joining them, I'm not completely sure, but my internal pieces are going to be the size of the square that I want to be finished with. That's my plan. So, yeah, I just got some Christmas fabrics out that I have. So I've decided that this edge here for this block is going to be the edge, and the bottom of this one is the other edge. These 2 pieces here will overlap with the next one. No, wrong. I'm going to do it. Here we go. I made a mistake already. So this is going to be the top now. That'll be this is going to be my first block. It's going to be the top left-hand corner. And so this will be the side, and this will be where the pieces join down here and here. So yeah, so that's where I'm up to. Can't believe I've had to completely remake this video. It's crazy. I'm hoping I'll stay on screen. It's a bit trickier when you've got a very, much bigger piece. But anyway, I'll keep an eye on it so that it's not too frustrating for you. And so I'm just going to start by laying those fabrics down in line with those edges there so that they don't, they're not going to be overlapping. I'm not completely sure where I'll go. I've pinned this out once before, and now I'm just playing with the fabrics again while I'm talking to you. One of the things that I noticed when I started to do it was when I got like a definite centerpiece or a center square, I don't want to go back to that. So I'm going to try and avoid that at all costs. But Whether it works or not, I'm not completely sure, but we'll play along together. I've got some plainer backgrounds, some that have got, you know, that deeper colour, the green. It would be good if some of these fabrics went over the edge here at the bottom. I'm going to come up a little bit further. So long as the squares overlap each other, I can always have the next one come in if I haven't left myself enough room. And because I've already pre-cut these squares, I'm just going to use them for now and have a play. I can't remember the actual design that I had, but that's all right. I'm happy to have another go at it and play with it. So yeah, all right. So I hope you're all good. We're good. We've got a really rainy day today, and that's always good for stitching, although in saying that, it's quite early and our plan is to go and visit a friend today. So we'll be doing that shortly. Yeah, that's me. I feel like I'm in a bit of a rush now. I don't know what happened. I think it was that sleeping overnight on a quilt that I wasn't very happy with. So sometimes if I've got a piece like that I'm not all that fussed on, I'll put something else over the top of it just to help disguise it. I might put a piece of this red in here. Just playing with the layout till I'm happy with it. Like I said, I like the overlap without having ugly corners or straight lines. I don't know where I want to put that piece. It might go there. If I could only remember how I did it, that'd be great, but I don't, so we'll just see how it goes. All right, well, I've given you the basics. I'm going to come back in a little while once I've got the pieces laid out as to how I think they might look good. Just making sure that I'm covering that underlay where my internal piece is, and overlapping the edges a little bit because that's where the next block's going to fit. Cool. All right, I'll be back a bit later to share with you where I've got to. Not sure what I'm going to put in there. Another piece of fabric would be good. All right, and you'll hardly know I've been gone. I've finished laying out my squares. I think that I'm done. I'm going to have to keep standing up. So sorry, my sound will sound a bit weird. But this is where I've got to. I've pinned them in place. I've stopped fussing with little bits because I realised that I don't need to put them on yet. What I've done is made sure on this side, because this is going to be one side of the panel of the quilt, that I've come over there, because what I'll do once I've finished doing the Canther stitching, I'll fold these edges over rather than add another piece to cover the edge. I just thought I might as well use what I've got here, and that might change in some places. And I've done the same on the top row there. On this side here, this is where the next panel will join. So what I've done is just pinned to that bit of lining that I've got in the middle here. So I'll stop my Canther stitches to that point, because then when I butt the next one up, in particular, while I'll overlay the backing, I'm not going to overlay the lining, because then it'll just become, so I'll just butt it up, just become too thick to stitch through, I think. So I've made sure my pins are tracking in line with that. You'll notice probably from a minute ago that I changed the greens to sort of slightly fresher ones, and the darker greens that have got the writing on, I might just, cut strips of that to add as a, as a little decorator bit, rather than have bigger panels of it. So yeah, I've added another colour in here, I think, or this one, I can't remember now, which I didn't have before, but I think I'm good to go. All right, so the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do some big tacking stitches, so just so I can get rid of the pins more than anything else. Sorry. I've picked a thread that I'm happy with the weight of. I don't actually know what it is, because, not that piece, because that's a bit thick. I did have a bit of a play with what I had, but I think I'm good with this one. I've just got to find the end of it. It's here somewhere. Because it's quite fine, and it could be like a 20, but because it's an old one that I picked up from an op shop somewhere, strangely it does have a DMC thing in here, but it just says DMC. It doesn't tell me any other information. I'm hoping that it'll be enough to do my whole quilt, but I guess I could maybe try and find something that will be something similar. And so, and I also had a play with needles to just make sure I could find one. So I've got one that's slightly longer with a very small hole, one that's slightly shorter, and I think I'm just going to play with them, because until I start stitching with them, I'm not really going to know which one I like stitching with. In the meantime, I'm going to do the quilting, or the, no, not the quilting, what is it, the basting. I didn't want a really small needle because, well, maybe a smaller, thinner needle might be good. I just picked an old cotton that I had. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. That I can baste with, that I'll see when I'm ready to pull it out. But I watched Corinne do this on her video, and while I've never done that before, I've just managed with safety pins. I have the big quilting pins that have got a curve in them, but because I'm not using wadding, I didn't feel like I needed those safety pins. But I'm going to give this tacking thing a chance, because I've not done this process before. Sorry, Paul's trying to give me some hand signals here. I don't know if he needs me. He was just checking at what I'm doing. He's been out collecting wood. Well, I think he's been out collecting wood. He got a bit. We went to see my friend this morning. She's just bought a new house, and am I on screen? Yes, I'm on screen. It's a bit hard to tell with this big square exactly where my camera is. I need to do a double check, and just, sorry, move you a little bit. If I keep my eye on that red line, that tells me, oh, sorry, I'm wobbling you up and down. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going to give this tacking thread an idea. Oh yeah, he's gone to collect wood. We went to visit my friend who's just bought a new house, and that settled this week, and we were keen to share her excitement, so that was good. But of course on the way home, driving past the end of the road that our street goes into, it ends just, not very, 2 minutes down the road, and we're on driving past farm properties, apple orchards, and there's cattle and cows and things. Not a lot of produce other than the apples, but anyway, that's where all the big gum trees lost their branches in that big windstorm that I talked about. And as we were driving, he said, I might come back and pick up some firewood. So, well, that was a good idea. That gave him something to do, but of course it's started to rain and he's home again now. But he's got a open potbelly stove in his shed, his man cave, and he'll be happy to light it. But I don't know, the wood will take a little while to dry out probably. It's a bit green probably. But yeah, so there's still plenty of branches lying on the ground. I think the council have cleared lots of them, but there's still plenty there. So that's one less job for them to do. Not that he would have got a lot, but he would have got some. So yeah, that's where we are. So Corinne did this sort of like cross hatch type stitch that works one way, doesn't work quite the same way. A bit like I can't remember the name of the stitch, it's got a name, herringbone. But I quite liked the look of it as far as being something that was fairly simple to do, probably not much more effort than putting in safety pins all around it, but it'll get rid of the little pins. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see those stitches. Oh yes, I'm still on the screen. What a joy. It isn't always something that happens. But anyway, yeah, I'm sticking my finger this is where the edge of the lining, the middle lining is. So that's good. I know that I need to just stay within that range when I'm doing the Canther stitching. Croaky now. I've got a roast on. I went out to the herb garden and picked some rosemary and some thyme. So I just can still smell that on myself. And I think it's, the oils get on your hands, and even though I've washed them, I can still smell it and it smells lovely. So that's all right, I'm happy with that. But we might as well have a roast for tea, a little roast lamb. So that'll be yummy. Some roast veggies and some gravy. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this, and then when I've done that, once I've gone across, I will come back to you so that I can share with you the starting of my Canther stitching. In yesterday's quilt that I've unpicked, one of the things that I did was had my rows a bit too far apart, and I wasn't happy with the look of it, and I'd used a thicker thread. I don't know what it was, but it's definitely thicker, because I can't read what it actually says. It was a DMC one as well, but the sizing is all worn off it. I don't think it actually has it anywhere here, but I can even read. But I thought it was still too thick, and so I'm happy with this thinner one. I'll just show you the difference on my finger. I might have started off with even a thicker one to start with and realised that was just going to be way too... Anyway, that one's too thick. I'm happy with the thin one. I think that will look a bit better. So that's where I'm up to. It's lovely seeing what everybody's doing on the Facebook page if you're not a part of that, have a look at it. It's called Stitch Vintage Treasures. Oh, that's terrible. I instantly forgot what it's called. I think it's that, Stitched. Wait on, let me look and I'll tell you what it's called properly. It's called, yes, Stitched Vintage Treasures. So if you'd like to, if you're new to this and you'd like to see what everybody else is doing, definitely head on over there and ask to join. You'll be asked a couple of simple questions just to make sure that people who are interested in what we're doing are the ones that are looking to be involved. All right, so I've gone across here. I'm going to continue to do that. That means I can get rid of pins, and I'm pretty happy with that idea as well. And I shall return. I've started doing my Canther stitching, and while I was doing it, I wondered if there was a rule. Normally, as a patchworker, I would start my quilting in the middle and radiate out to the edges. And I didn't even think of doing that this time. I just started on the top corner. So I don't know if there's a rule about doing Canther stitching when you're going repeatedly back. Maybe there is, but what I do want to say is I'm very happy with how it's looking so far. Just feel like my camera is like over too far. Sorry. I'm over too far. Whatever. I'm here. I'm so glad I pulled it out, because last night when I was doing it, I struggled with it, but kept going, and I think I must have dreamt about it all night, because I was up at silly o'clock this morning picking it, and so happy that I did. Number one of the things that I talked about was I added a second layer in as my wadding, batting, whatever you want to call it. It's not that. It's 2 pieces of sheeting, and I'm glad I did the 2, because I've got such a nicer look to the stitching. And what I did yesterday was I stitched all the way across and back, and I probably had my stitching rows about, double what I've done here, and I'm so much happier. I really like the way it's starting to gather up, as Canther quilting does. So my first square I've done across this way. My second square may not be as easy to see because I've done the stitching this way, and now I'm doing this square. So no rhyme nor reason, just where the thread ended up is where the next stitching. But anyway, I'm really happy with this basting. That's really good. My thimble, because it's one that you can alter the size of it. Sometimes they've caught on it, but mostly I'm managing all right. What I'm also being conscious about is burying my knot, and because I don't have any wadding, that's harder to do. So I'm just going between the layers when I have to rejoin a thread. But I'm also noticing with the older thread that it gets itself a bit twisted, but it's just a matter of concentrating on that, and just providing a little bit of tension, because see how it just starts to coil really quickly, and I think that's its age. It's been on the roll for a long time. But somebody told me once that the way the thread comes off the roll, that's the end that goes in the needle. It's supposed to help. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes it does, and maybe it just doesn't with older thread. I don't know. Anyway, and the other thing that I heard somebody say was, if you can gather your stitches onto the needle, oh sorry, wait on, I'll tell you in a second. What I'm doing when I get to the end is go over where there's a join, doesn't matter which way it is, and then I'm tracking the needle so that I can't, I'm making sure that my finger's there so it's not visible on the other side, but it's going between the two or three or however many layers there are. And I turn my stitching around, my fabric around, and stitch the way I want to go, because I go from right to left, being right-handed. I think that's why I do it. I think that's the thing. I can't go left to right. It's impossible. All right. So yeah, I was saying about trying to gather up as many stitches as you can on the needle. Supposedly that assists you to go straighter. Again, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes my rows aren't too bad. I get a wobble up every now and then if I lose concentration. I think these will go on a bit of an angle, but I think when it's done it'll be fine. And I just love the look of it. I love the feel of it. I'm very happy. I procrastinated about starting another quilt in my life because I thought I might have been over quilts and I was happy doing other things. But I can see this is, going to be going to the couch tonight in front of a movie. Yay. Not having to concentrate too much on what embroidery cotton I need. I've got my little bowl that I made. My thread fits in it. My thimble fits in it. A needle case, my scissors don't fit in it, but anyway, that's all right. And then I can put my little snipping bits in there. So if you don't know about my little bowl, have a look at another video that I made. So yeah, I hope there's something good on the telly tonight, because when I was telling you before about going out and picking herbs, I noticed the poor old blueberries. Oh dear, they really are, being overrun with the parsley, and the parsley's going to seed and the blueberries are in flower. And I thought I really should do something about it. It was 10 degrees and I was like, I'm not staying out there. 10 degrees. And then it started to rain and I thought, oh, that's even better. Now I actually don't have to go out there. So yeah, I thought I'll come back on and share a little bit of these technical things that I'm doing. Like I said, very happy with the basting. Thank you, Corinne, for that idea. I've never seen it done before. So I was extremely happy about that. As I said, I've just only used safety pins, and you might want to do the same, but it certainly stops the thread from getting tangled in pins and things, and that reduces that level of pressure. And yeah, I think basically pretty easy to unpick. I unpicked it in a flash this morning when I was annoyed about what I'd done, so I don't suspect it's going to be any different. I can feel something happening in there. Did it curl itself up? Oh no, I think it's just where there's a couple of layers. I didn't know if it was in there. You can even do that. You can have a peek inside and then smooth it all out again. Good. All right. I think probably you've seen me do enough of that. Like I said, I try and get as close as I can to that edge so that I've caught it in the one that's underneath it or above it, whichever, and then track my needle between the layers so that I can still feel something in there. I don't know why. It's almost like there's a crease or something in it. Maybe it's in the lining. I don't know why I can feel that. Oh, might have been a bit too excited about having a peek in there. All right, good. That sorts itself out. Couldn't have done that with a safety pin. Very nice. All right, well, I think that's all I'm going to talk to you about. I might just make sure that that's tracked under those layers just a little bit further. And I hope you have fun. When I come back in my next video, it'll be about adding some embellishments. I'm not going to make it too fussy on, but I will have a go. You know, I certainly intend to do some, you know, needle turn applique if I can get some little, think about some little Christmas houses, or if I want to have a bigger Christmas type emblem on there. I've got a few bits and pieces. There might be a Santa makes an appearance somewhere down the track. And yeah, I think I will probably leave you here with this. Wait till I fold it out. Got everything going on here. I think it looks good. I'm very happy with it. All right, I hope you have fun doing yours too. I know that this is certainly going to be very addictive. Maybe there won't be a lot of other things happening while I'm doing this, but it feels pretty good at right now. Okay, I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're having a good day like I am, and take care. Okay, bye. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry about that background noise. You know, the last couple of weeks I've been demented with technology, because losing power and internet has just sent me almost spare, and you know, trying to get everything to work. And I no sooner got one thing working and then now what happened then was the surround sound just came on by itself. Just came on. Talking, it pulls out in the shed still. I was sitting here with you, and while I knew it, I could hear it. I didn't know that you would be able to hear it. Oh God, now I can't even thread this needle. So when I thought I'll just play that last little bit back, make sure it's all right. I'm going to go with it, and I hope that it's not terrible. I could hear it, and I'll play it back one more time and see if it's really terrible. Then I'm going to wipe this. Already wiped one video today. I will wipe another one if it's really shocking. So you'll either hear it or you won't, but my apologies if it's distracting to you. Can't be any more distracting than watching me not thread a needle. Goodness, it's just like it threaded absolutely with no problem at all before, and now I can't get it to go in at all. All right, I'm going to stop playing with that because I can't get it threaded, and I don't want to subject you to that. I'll see what it sounds like, and if it's awful, I'll start again. Okay.